I was doing a slight bit of research before recording this video about I was gonna jokingly make a guide on how to become broke. But after doing some research and like asking ChatGPT about like how does one become broke, in reality, it gave me the formula on how I became rich, and I thought that was funny. I was like, this advice that most people say makes you broke, in fact, is actually what makes you rich. So I'm going to go through this. I'm going to go kind of like down the steps that normally is like super, this is how to become rich. And in fact, how we can all become backwards millionaires. Because after reading this, I would say I'm a backwards millionaire. And this might be a concept to run with for a little bit here. So anyways, it's kind of funny. Like all the things that they tell you as to like why you should become rich is like why, what makes you broke or keeps you poor are typically all the things that actually like are the best ways of becoming rich. So like I said, I'm going to go through this kind of 10 things that I have here, but I'll give you kind of my story. For me, I didn't grow up with wealth or parents or anybody with money or anything like that. And I had to figure everything out on my own. So I had no actual kind of like blueprint to it. I watched all these like finance videos and I thought they were just full of shit and really fucking stupid. And like I did some of it. Honestly, it wasn't really for me. So I kind of just started to derive my own formula. All I did was I just focused on like the goal of like becoming rich. And then from there, I just kind of figured it all out. And so here's kind of the points that I had here. So first one is like, here's how to become broke is to ignore a budget. And in reality, I'll be honest, like I think a budget's one of the fucking stupidest things that you could do. Like I think there is a way where having a budget makes sense, but as soon as you start kind of putting yourself in a box financially that like, hey, I need to spend this much money, and it's like, trying to, fit things into this budget. I'll be honest, I had no fucking budget other than just like how much cash in my bank, how much money can I get in resources and credit and loans and stuff, and use that stuff to make as much cash flow as possible. I had no budget ever. I would always overspend the budget. I would always spend more money than I ever had. And I would say that set me up for more success than if otherwise that I didn't. Because I was just using resources. I was finding resources and using resources. That's it. I was just fucking common sense. How much resources can I acquire? And then how can I distribute these resources into getting me more resources as much as possible? That's kind of like how my brain naturally kind of worked. And I found that like natural way of doing things, instead of like, oh, I need to just spend this exact amount of money. I like never fucking did that. I was always, I never figured out the budget thing, to be honest. And that goes into the next point, which is like embracing impulse buying. They say like, oh yeah, you become broke by like buying shit that on impulse. Honestly, I bought so much shit on impulse, so much dumb shit. And it was something about like when I spent that money and it was like money that I needed for something, I would have to like go find a creative way of making that money back. And that like creativity of just like, well, that was a fucking stupid ass purchase. First of all, those were like typically some of the best purchases that I ever made. There were things that like became my personality. Like this leather jacket, this was a fucking stupid purchase, but I saw it and I liked it. This watch was a fucking stupid purchase, but it's actually probably made me way more money than I spent on the watch. And actually, I didn't lose money with it. What's cool with Rolexes is they typically retain their value. So, most people are like, oh, don't do impulse buying. I think impulse buying is fucking stupid when you're buying shit at Target and stuff like that and decorate. But even then, when you spend the money and you go just spend it, it kind of forces you to figure out, okay, how the fuck can I go make this money back? So, they say don't embrace impulse buying, but I'm like, dude, honestly, that was probably that made me one of the most impulsive people ever. So another one is like use credit wisely. Don't max out credit cards, pay the minimum due each month. Bonus points if you don't know the interest rates on your cards. Yeah, for me, when there was an opportunity to leverage all those credit cards to try to, keep my business going, that's all I focus on. And then, honestly, like just using credit cards, maxing them out, using them for resources. I'm not saying this is like the necessarily best approach for everybody. It just has its kind of like hindrances, but I have friends, let's say that, they're able to live their life normally without having good credit. They're able to still get houses. They're still able to drive nice cars and buy nice cars and stuff. and it kind of forces you to use cash. I would say honestly, like credit in a way is like not the best. So it's better. Maybe it's like you have credit card debt at the beginning and then you just max out your credit cards and you can't get more credit. And so when you do like a lot more money, it's like it doesn't impact you. It's kind of a weird way to approach it. But at the end of the day, when it comes to credit, let's say you do max it out, you abuse the shit out of it. You always get like offers later to like settle the debt. So you could have like $50,000 in credit card debt. If you ignore it for long enough, they'll eventually offer you like to release all the debt for $5,000. So, it's like maybe that $50,000 could go towards something that's like super important, like, like investing in yourself and building yourself. And then down the line, if you don't pay for it, I'm not saying that you should go do this shit, but they do offer you like 10% of whatever the debt was as they'll settle for like, significantly less. You can always just hire somebody to help you out with repairing your credit too. And down the road, when you are making more money, then you can kind of always figure out the credit. That was my kind of a belief and opinion on that stuff, was just like, whatever with that stuff, cool, let's have some nice credit, get some nice cars and shit. But, all that stuff didn't really matter all that much to me, other than, I just knew when I'd make a ton of money and had like high cash flow, then that would eventually work itself out. Like I said, this is my freaking like my dumb idiot brain that just kind of like figured out how to become rich. And then I'm like, was going to make a video jokingly how to become broke. Okay, neglected emergency fund. Yeah, I never had a fucking emergency fund. I actually didn't. I would use whatever the hell resources I had. And then when I ran out, I would go find ways to make more money. That's it. Does it suck sometimes? Yeah. You just get really fucking creative to like try to find ways to get money. And you'll realize when you do this, you realize how creative you can get with like when it comes to getting money. So let me go to the next one. So making financial decisions based on feelings. Yeah, I made us all sorts of emotional financial decisions. I will say like now, as I've kind of gotten more and more money and now I'm kind of doing everything, is like, I do a lot of financial decisions. Like most of my financial decisions are based off of my emotions and how I feel about things. I do have kind of like certain guidelines now where it's like, I won't let myself spend this thing until like result has been done. But I kind of allow myself, I kind of like dip into, like this hedonistic personality, and I kind of like allow it to like kind of happen a little bit. I do have like boundaries, I would say, when it comes to it. But when it, like I'll make decisions based off of like my feeling. Like most of my financial decisions are based off feeling and not logic, and kind of like ask myself, like, I like, do I see this kind of benefiting me in the long term? So the next thing is avoid learning about finance. Yeah, I think learning about finance is a fucking stupid idea. I don't think saving matters. I don't think investing matters. Like, I don't think like managing money. I think it's just cash balance management. How much money do you have in the bank? How much can you spend? That was pretty much my philosophy. And I did have my issues with it, like I will say. And then now that I've hired like CFO for my company and have accounting teams and stuff, I'm like, wow, this would be really nice to know how to do a lot of stuff. But for me, it was just like, okay, I see the bank balance going lower. Okay, how do I go make more money? How do I do more sales? How do I make more ad revenue? How do I find more money? That was really all that I kind of developed, was like, or what I developed was the skill set of like, okay, money going down, how do we make more money? And then it would find ways to spend more money and to invest it more and to hire my expenses would increase as like my products would get better, as I would have a better team. So then I would find ways, okay, this is going down faster, how do I get money faster? And it was kind of always just this, like, how do I find more money and just use it as a resource? I never tried to like save money necessarily. Like, you look at people like Mr. Beast, like that guy had no money when he was making, I think, like $300,000 a month. And you see the same exact thing with Oxford Mosey. Like for me, like I had no, like, I think like me making less than $200,000 a month, I don't really believe in like saving money, like I feel like anything less, like it's just not worth it. I'll kind of have some like cash reserves now these days. Now that I've kind of started to get to these, $100,000 a month markers, and it is a little bit painful having to like rehire people. I've had to do that a few times. So instead of having to like burn bridges a bunch, I try to just make sure that I don't have to like burn bridges. But other than that, like, for the longest time, I was just like, what's the fucking point of having money if I'm not making enough money? That was my philosophy. People always advise differently, but that was just the way that I kind of did it. Like I said, now I'm making millions of dollars a year. So some of this, like take it for a grain of salt. You know, I don't necessarily know what I'm doing, but I did get rich. So, and everything that's on this list is like basically what I did. Then the other one, say yes to every financial obligation. Yeah, dude, I said yes to just about everything. I tried fucking everything, and I tried to every single way under the sun to try to make money. It says, you know, that's a bad thing, but honestly, I did. I just tried everything. I think I was just like, yeah, let's take on every risk that I possibly can and find out what am I good at, what's kind of the better way of doing things, what are good investments. It was just, I just viewed it as like a learning experience. If it was a bad financial decision, like I never believed in losing money. I never thought that if I went back down to $0, that I was back where I was when I started. I think that's the issue most people have, is like when they lose all their money, they think they're back where they were. But in reality, you're back where you were plus one experience. So let's say I got all the way up to, you know, I've had this, I got to $120,000 in my bank, and then I get back down to zero. Like I go from 0 to 120,000 and then back down to 0. I would view it as I am back where I was when I got started, let's say, like the money in the bank, but I'm plus one experience, and probably more so like plus 50 experiences, because, you know, there's a lot of shit you can buy with $120,000 and like a lot of stuff you can try. A lot of like, you know, higher risk positions. So for me, I always saw it as when I go back to 0, I'm actually not back at 0. I'm like further than I was before. But most people, they're like, oh, I'm back where I started. I lost things. You didn't lose shit. Actually, you gained a lot. You know, you gained an experience. You learned a lesson. But most people don't see it that way, and that kind of robs that experience from them. And then that kind of like, you know, that fear that they have, it hinders them in their ability to make progress. For me, I never gave a shit about running out of money. Like maybe I did at the beginning, but then after like the 50th time that I did, I quit caring. I quit caring about running out of money. I would take fucking any risk. I would do any bet. I would try fucking everything other than like, you know, anything like unethical or immoral. I would try fucking everything. I would try every sort of like different way of making money. I would try to invest in all sorts of different shit until I figured out what it was that I like, something that's scalable. And then now I'm just like, okay, you know, I'll make $100,000, $200,000 a month. Let's just keep doing what we're doing to get to $500,000, $1 million a month, kind of go from there. So that's kind of been my philosophy, is just try fucking everything. Like if you have less than $100,000, you have like no money basically. You might as well try everything that you can, and then just get better at not sucking so much. That was like my entire philosophy. So, you know, that kind of throws into the next point: invest blindly or not at all. I do agree. That one, I would say that's how you stay broke. Investing blindly, I think, you know, you do need to be a little bit calculated with like what you're putting your money into. I'm a big believer of investing into experiences and knowledge, and becoming, you know, let's say like in World of Warcraft, having more skill points in your inventory, or like if you're playing The Sims, like increasing your strength or whatever, your charisma level. I believe in that. Invest into that shit. When it comes to like, you know, invest in the stock market stuff, like stock market and all that shit, that's the waste of money. That's a terrible decision with your money, to put the money in the stock market. If you have less than 100 grand, you don't need to put your money in the stock market. You need to figure out how to make 100 grand a month. And then when you figure out how to make like 100 grand a month, then you can figure out, okay, what are these things that I'm going to invest it in? If you think it's going to take you like 40 years to get to where you're making 100 grand a month, then okay, when you're making 10 grand a month, put money in the stock market. It'll compound. You'll make way more money by doing it that way. But if you're like me, where you're in your early 20s, or, you know, you're trying to develop some high income skills and you really want to get rich as fuck, then, and before you, like when you can actually enjoy your money, like for me, I'm 25 and I can do whatever the fuck I want now at this point. And I knew that I could get to that point, and I knew that I could, you know, get to the point of me really enjoying my money a lot sooner. So for that case, the S&P 500 is one of the worst fucking decisions. Buying a house and renting it out, terrible decision, unless I was trying to, you know, flip a ton of Airbnbs and sell a course or program on it. But, you know, besides that, they have it backwards. We need to do things backwards, which is invest into knowledge, invest into experiences, figure out how to increase your cash flow, figure out how to increase what your time is worth, and then figure out how to develop leverage, which leverage is the thing that you're looking for. You're like, you need to stop trading your time for money and get it where your money works for you, and your resources and your leverage and your your ability to have impact in your brand and your reach. You want that to work for you, not your time. And then the last one that I have on here is maintain a lifestyle you can't afford. I'll be honest. Like it says, live like a millionaire on a middle-class salary, drive the best car, wear the finest clothes, dine at the most expensive restaurants. After all, appearances are more important than financial health. So yeah, like this one's pretty fucking stupid. I mean, this is like, obviously this is all satire, but that it was written as. But I view that as actually one of the best things you could possibly do. I think you should go live the lifestyle you can't afford. Even if it's for like one day. Like, go spend all your money on one day to go live a lifestyle that, is like part of like the ultra wealthy or like really rich people. Because what you realize is when you put yourself in those environments, you'll realize how much money is there. You'll realize how much possibility is out there. You'll realize how attainable it is and how normal these people are. They all fart and, poop and walk and talk and shit. Just like you. They're not that much different. Maybe like they're a fraction of a sliver of a difference than you, but there's nothing really different other than they just either had family money or they worked their ass off and made money. And that's super inspirational. You can realize that they're just normal ass people. Like for me, I remember I'm trying to think of some of the moments. I remember when I stayed in this like $5 million house and I was hanging out with some of these guys from like the FaZe clan or whatever. And I remember meeting these guys and hanging out with them. And I was just like, dude, these are like normal ass people. Like one of them had like a GTR and he was wearing like off-white and stuff, which to me at that time, I was like, holy shit, this guy's rich as fuck. When in reality, that stuff isn't that expensive. It's pretty cheap to live that lifestyle. I realized of like being able to wear, off-white and drive a GTR. But anyways, for me, for the longest time, I was like, holy shit, that's crazy. I mean, they were in a pretty crazy house. They had like fans outside all the time, like waiting for them. I saw this, but then I was like smoking weed with one of the guys and I was like, this guy's a really fucking normal ass dude. And then I was hanging out with some like up and coming rapper who became pretty big. And I was hanging out with him. I was like, dude, it blows my mind that this guy is so famous and he's just some normal ass dude. It was like when I met Robert from Shark Tank, Robert Herjavec. Like when I met this guy and I bought him lunch, I was like, dude, this guy's like a freaking normal. He's just a really charismatic, normal dude. But it's like, I saw myself in him. And when you're in these environments, when you're in these expensive ass places, and it's kind of fun too. It's like, especially you go out at like noon in like Beverly Hills or some shit, or like some really nice place in a rich area. You just see these people, like everyone. It's just like everyone's just living their normal ass daily life. Fucking life is fine. It's chilling. Nothing fucking matters. They have no care in the world. And that blew my mind. Being in these expensive hotels, these places that are $1,000 a night. Like, holy shit, this is crazy. And I remember going to these places like, wow, I just put myself in these environments. And a lot of times you can just go to these places for free and just go get a coffee or something at the coffee shop. And just putting yourself into those environments and like starting to create this lifestyle. For me, it was like when I bought my AMG GT, my supercar. When I started driving that thing, I realized how normal all this shit is. I probably shouldn't have bought it at the time that I bought it, but once I started driving it around, it was just my daily life. I just realized like, oh, this stuff's like super normal. I quit caring about I think people like, you always see those people, they work their entire life for 40 years to get like a Ferrari or something, or like a nice thing. And they just like are so meticulous about making sure that it's like nice and stuff. But I never wanted to be that way. I never wanted to treat that stuff like it was like, special. And so for me, as soon as I got that car, I was like, I'm not going to treat this like it's a special car. I'm going to treat this like it's a Honda Civic. And I have since day one. I've had it for like, that car specifically I've had for 3 years now. And I drive that thing like it's a fucking Honda Civic. Everywhere I go, it just gets you lots of attention when you valet it. People say, hey, you're cool and stuff. But other than that, it's just a normal ass fucking car, So I'm a big believer, like you see some of these guys on social media. I'm not going to name any names. I'm friends with some of them. But, they do this thing where they like make it seem like, oh, like I'm rich and successful and you can never be this way. I was born and gifted and talented this way. All love, all appreciation for them. Here's the thing. Yeah, maybe I'm special in some ways. Maybe I'm lucky. I don't know. If you want to believe that, go for it. I am pretty lucky. I'm pretty grateful. Like, I'm blessed. But here's the thing. If you put yourself in these environments enough and you just do it and you fucking take the chances and you take the risks and you put yourself into these places, and you just really believe in yourself and the mission, and you're convicted that you will become rich. This is not, like I said, this is the backwards millionaire advice. Backwards millionaire advice: you do all the stupid shit everyone says not to do. Fuck up your credit. You go do some stupid shit. Spend every dollar that you have trying to learn how to develop high income skills. You work your ass off. You work really hard. You put yourself into the rooms. If you just focus on that, and you focus on cash flow, and you focus on creating income, and you focus less on saving money, and you surround yourself with other people that are super convicted into who they are, and they take chances and they take risks, and now they're rich as fuck because they did and they bet on themselves, you yourself to become rich. Because it's just like anybody else. Let's say right now, I know it's elections going on, politics, stuff like that. If you are in a room and you're hanging out with your friends, what do they talk about? They'll talk about, Trump, he said this, Biden said this, this guy barely walk and shit, whatever. So, you walk into most rooms and people are blah, 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 politics, shit here and there. You go into a room with people that do business, we'll talk business, which is that's what we have fun with. We talk shop. Whenever I hang out with my friends, we just talk business. How is this going? How's this thing going? We'll talk about some crazy trips and stuff. That's just that's the default conversation. There's nothing else to fucking talk about other than, business and life and doing cool shit and, some crazy ass stories that you have in your life. Nothing, nothing like politics, nothing talking about Trump, Biden. It may sound boring the most, but if you want to do cool shit, you just realize that that's just the default setting is how do I get more rich? And you just naturally get more rich. You get better. You get more skilled. It's fun. You talk about, the things that you're doing to become better. And so if that's, if you want to do all of that, you want to become a millionaire, do all the shit that they say not to do. But then the main thing is just emphasize on the becoming rich part. If you just have that delusion, I'm going to become rich, you just fucking try everything and you put yourself out there, what's going to happen is you're going to become a fucking crazy person and you're going to lose yourself. And becoming that crazy person and losing yourself will help you find yourself and find the version of yourself that is optimized for having success and becoming some crazy lunatic that is rich and famous and does whatever the fuck they want in their life and lives a life on their terms. That's the trick. Is become that crazy delusional person that they all say that you shouldn't be. That's the freaking outcast in society. The arrogant, not arrogant. What's the word that I'm looking for? When it comes to me, I'll say it. But, you want to become that person they say is fucking crazy delusional, some pipe dream guy. And if you just believe in yourself enough, you just trust the process, put yourself in the right environments, you're open to it for a long enough time horizon, for a long enough time period, you'll be exactly where you want to be. And that's the issue. You have to because I grew up in a middle class life. I grew up with nothing. I grew up in a place where money, was taboo to talk about. And, it's you had to go get a job and a good career and you had to work your way and do the whole thing. In that life, if you talk about becoming rich quick, rich faster and becoming rich as fuck and owning Ferraris in your 20s and supercars and living in multi-million-dollar houses, you're fucking crazy. That's true. That's just how it works. You're crazy. You're a crazy person. You're delusional, is what they'll say. You're oh yeah, look at that guy. Look at fucking Timmy over there. Or for me it was oh yeah, Devin. He's fucking, yeah, he's gonna go be rich. That's how they're going to treat you. And you feel like a fucking outcast. And that means you're doing it right. If you're crazy, you're an outcast, you come off as delusional, you live on a fucking different planet. In the environment of people that are going the normal path, that is exactly what you want to be, and that's exactly what you want to hear. Because that means that you're doing things right. I felt like a fucking crazy person for so long. Until I met other crazy people as well trying to do the same exact thing. So, here's the thing. What they say is the wrong things to do typically is if they say go left, you go right. If they say go right, you go left. In the news, in the masses, with your friends, work, whatever the fuck people are saying, you just do whatever the opposite is that they say. If they say this is how you get rich, Don't do that. Do whatever the opposite of it is, unless you're actually talking to someone that became a millionaire in their 20s or their 30s. If you listen to those people, that's fine. That's okay. If they became a millionaire when they're in their 20s, like me or any of my friends, or that you see online, any of these rich people you see online, and Andrew Tate or something, listen to them. Shut the fuck up and just listen. But if it's somebody that's like a wannabe millionaire, and somebody that's like, oh yeah, you got to put your money in your stocks and you can retire when you're 40 or something, and you're in your 20s. Just fucking do whatever the opposite of what they said is. If they say don't take risks, if they're like, yeah, money doesn't grow on trees, a penny earned is a penny saved, or a penny saved is a penny earned, and you got to go, get a college degree and do all this bullshit, and you got to go to college, whatever. Just do whatever the fucking opposite of what they say. Like get a job. Yeah, don't get a job. Like that's a fucking terrible idea. Maybe go get some jobs or like some sources of income. Go trade your time for money for a little bit until you find ways to trade your leverage and your skill sets and your knowledge and your resources into more money. And like I said, just do whatever the fuck, like the opposite thing of whatever everybody else says. You do it for long enough. You find mentors. You take risks. You bet on yourself always. You'll be exactly where you want to be. This is the approach to become a millionaire. That backwards approach to becoming a millionaire. And that's what I have. See you guys all in the next one.